Hi guys, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am super excited to start this new series. So it's going to be called Stitch It Sunday 2K, and this is a collaboration that I am working on with the super talented Kira Ness, and I'm really excited to be working with her because I have found someone who loves hand stitching on their pages as much as I do, which is like amazing. So, once a month on the third Thursday of the month, you are going to see this new series from us where we are showing you some ideas and strategies and tips, tricks, tools, ways that we use stitching on our layouts. So, for today, I am playing with the Echo Park Once Upon a Time collection. And this is like it's meant to be a boy collection, and it's sort of like dragons and knights in shining armor and fairy tale for boys. And they also have a coordinating kit series that is also a collection, that's the word, collection for girls. And so this is the one that is meant for boys. And so I have this photo of my son kind of looking through the different book selections in this little used bookstore when we were on vacation in Chicago. And so that was kind of where this layout started, was with that particular photo. And so I knew that I wanted to create a book feel. And so I pulled a ton of the papers from the 6x6 paper pad from this collection, and I am creating my own books. And so I'm thrilled with this collection because the colors are amazing. And there's a really good mix of small, more like concise patterns and some larger patterns, and that makes it a lot easier to combine things together. The other thing that makes it easier to combine things together with this collection, or any collection you want to create something like this with, is when you have some combinations of light papers and dark papers, because I want to be able to layer. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking some plain white printer paper and I tore the edges against my ruler, and then I colored it with one of my distress inks, and this is just fossilized amber. And so what I am doing is creating the pages of an old book. And so the torn edges, along with that distress ink and kind of that yellowish color, is creating the pages of a book that I wanted to have laying kind of sideways. So my thoughts right now are I'm going to create this stack of books that's going to run up the side of my page and become a place where my title can be found. And I'm going to have my photo tucked into it. So that's pretty much all I'm thinking at this point. So I'm going through all of these pattern papers that I pulled out that I want to use to make books, and I'm just cutting rectangles of different sizes. And then I'm kind of cutting around the edges, especially around the corners, to make them so they're not totally straight and even and perfect. So I want them to look kind of old and used and well loved. Now I do pull out this 3x4 card that says Knight in Shining Armor, thinking that I'm going to turn this into like a book cover. So I do put a binding on it and distress it up a little bit on the edges, but it doesn't actually end up making it into the layout. But I wanted to leave it here because this is another really good strategy where you can take those 3x4 cards and make them into some kind of embellishment that coordinates with your page. So here, making this into a book cover would have worked perfectly. It just didn't end up being something that I needed on this particular layout. And so I am using this kind of yellowish tan background paper, and this paper came from the collection. It's called Royal Kingdom, and it just has text. So it's a tone on tone with like stories written in the background. And so now you can see that really cool photo I have of my son, and I used some photo editing software to give it that kind of yellowish old-fashioned tint that I knew would go perfectly with kind of the theme and the feeling that I was wanting to create. And I'm thinking here in the beginning that my books are going to get stacked in the middle, and they actually aren't. They're actually going to end up over on the right-hand side. But what I'm going to do once I have all of these little books, and I am kind of happy with, I'm adding some binding and some extra strips and some things to make the edges of the books look like books rather than just random rectangles. This is where my stitching is going to come in, and this is one of my favorite ways to use stitching. is to create those custom embellishments for my page. So I get a lot better, more different look by creating my own stack of books rather than just going and looking for a piece of ephemera or a sticker. This gives me the opportunity to create kind of more of a bigger focus piece on my layout. And the hand stitching is just, it's amazing as an added detail. So I'm just kind of playing with that placement right now, and you can see my books have kind of shifted over. And so I'm happy with the binding, and now I'm just telling you, hey, I'm going to stitch on all of these now. So I go ahead and I'm taking each one of those little books and I'm using my paper piercing tool, and this is like a little kit that I bought from Amy Tan, and just pre-punching my holes. If you are going to stitch on your layout, I promise you this is the #1 tip that you are going to get. Pre-punch your holes. You get so much less ripping and tearing of the paper if you've already punched your holes, and it creates a much cleaner look. So with the magic of YouTube, all of my books have been stitched off screen, which is just about the coolest thing that you can do that here in YouTube land. And so I have added that hand stitching detail. The other thing I did was I kind of folded them through the middle to give them a little bit of a height. They already have some dimension to them because of all of the stitching that's on the back side of the embellishment, so they're already going to be dimensional. But creating that kind of crease inside makes them bubble up a little bit in the middle, and you can see it better in the close-ups to give you some of that extra dimension, like it's actually a book sitting on this shelf and it's full of pages. So then I'm also going to take and stitch on a second element on my page. So this kind of ties everything together. And what I am doing is I took this little frame that says Believe on the bottom, and right now all I've done is added a red cardstock border around it. And that border is made from the same paper that I made those letters Lost and Found. It's one of the pattern papers in this collection that's just like a red tone-on-tone diamond paper. And so I cut my letters out of that, and then I also framed that little frame with a border of it so that those two things are going to coordinate together. So now I'm using a bunch of the other paper from my 6x6 paper pad and creating some layers behind my photo. And I'm the most concerned with the left-hand side because I know that I'm going to tuck the right-hand side in behind that stack of books. So I'm really not worried about having photo mats that extend over to that side of the photo, because I know that I'm just going to end up covering up that entire area because I want my photo to be tucked into the books, because then my big title element here that says Lost and Found is going to overlap completely over the edge of my photo. And lately I've really been enjoying that look of creating more of a thin, subtle title like this and then overlapping it onto the photo, because it really doesn't take away very much from the photo, but it adds a really cool look. So now I'm going to take these little banners across the top, and I have decided where I want them, and I'm going to put some dimensional adhesive on them so that the bottoms of the banners will stand up for me. And then I'm going to stitch along the top with the same dark colored thread that I used down on my books. And then I'm grabbing my Allie Edwards Lost and Found kit, and there's two different little chipboard pieces that I knew I wanted to include. So that one up by Believe just says Lost and Found, and then I'm using the little ampersand to finish off my title. So my full title is going to be Lost and Found. And then I'm going to grab these little star pieces, and these are from the Once Upon a Time ephemera pack, and I'm going to scatter those throughout like 3 different little spots on my layout. And so far I'm liking how all of that is looking, and I went ahead and added my journal to that book on the very bottom, as well as a third little chipboard circle on that top book, and that is going to do it for this layout. So I really hope that you will keep joining me, like, subscribe, and come back again next month when Kara and I are stitching again, because this is going to be a super fun series. Bye!